So good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to see all of you here. As you can see, we're slowly going back to face, and hopefully this will continue despite the seeming rise in cases.
Lito Tayag of Accenture.
Good afternoon. Happy to be back in an in-person event, finally, after so many years. And of course, we're looking forward to the discussion, conversation with
Lito was telling Ato a while ago that the last time they met, it was Lito giving a speech at the Ateneo graduation while Ato was the chairman. So now the tables have turned. Dr. Aris Allen also joining us today from Card Microfinance.
Good afternoon, I'm just a new board member of MBC. Nice to see all of you.
Thanks, Dr. Aris. On behalf of our board members, both here and elsewhere, and my colleagues who are here, thank you for welcome and thank you for joining us. Welcome to this fourth installment of this year's Leading in Extraordinary Times series. As you know, so welcome to all of you who are here. I'd also like to welcome those who are joining us via MS Teams. I think we'll try to check whether we can actually see them and hear them. If you're in MS Teams and willing to turn on your camera, we really appreciate it. Janine, my colleague, Janine Brianna, my colleague, will be helping us with MS Teams people. Janine, how many people do we have there?
There are about 30 guests that we have in the MS Teams Go.
Okay. There's 30, I see a bunch of names here, most of whom I know, but there's at least 2 or 3 who I know that if I call them, they won't get mad at me. So I want to test whether this all works. I'd like to call first Elmer. Elmer, could you introduce yourself and we'll test whether this audio works. Elmer?
Yes, hi, can you hear me well?
We hear you.
From Tech. Happy to be here. Unfortunately, I can't join in person. I know your blog, you are going to enjoy some chicken joy their venue. So.
Thanks for joining us. Elmer actually has been quite loyal in the last since we've come back from pandemic. This is maybe the first time you're joining us online, Elmer. I think. Yeah, I keep on seeing you here in person. Thanks, Elmer. Also joining us is again, I don't think you'll get mad if I call him Bert Manaba. Bert, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here and looking forward to learning to lead in uncertain times, extraordinary times.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you.
Thanks very much, Bert. I see other names here. I'll call just one more, and it is Alex Panagiton of Cargill. Alex actually, until recently, was an MBC employee, but Cargill, our member, stole her away from us. So, Alex?
Hi, Coco. Pleased to meet everyone. I hope everybody's safe. Happy to be able to be here in the online session. Hopefully, I can join you physically soon. Hello also to my colleagues, former colleagues at MBC.
Thanks very much, Alex. Before we move on, I'd also like to introduce some new members who are joining a live event for the first time since they joined. So let me call first Ram Mirchandani of Ramesh.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Ram Mirchandani. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Ramesh Trading Corporation. Thank you.
And Irene Catania of Schneider Electric. Irene?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Irene Catane, Country President of Schneider Philippines.
Thanks very much, Irene. One final bit of housekeeping. In the last few weeks, you probably should have received a couple of emails from us about some help that we're trying to give to your favorite government agency, the BIR. The first one was about accounting standards. The second one is about their e-receipts and e-invoicing project. As you may know, we're all going to try to shift the country to e-receipts and e-invoices next year. There are very good reasons for doing that. One that was explained to me was that if they're able to get more of that kind of digital data rather than the paper data, it'll be easier for them to shift to a system where audits and letters of authority are decided by a computer rather than a collector in your RDO. So we want to help them do that, and they're running a pilot right now. Several MBC companies are already there, and since we sent out the letter to you, 2 or 3 other MBC companies have joined. If anyone is interested or willing to volunteer to join that pilot, please check your emails, or reach out to me, and we'll give you that information, no obligation attached. Okay, with that, we can begin. Again, welcome to our signature series, Leading in Extraordinary Times, a partnership with Microsoft Philippines. We are on the 3rd year of this series, and this is the 4th installment this year. We thank Microsoft for being our partner from the beginning. We also want to thank our secondary sponsor, Huawei Philippines. Huawei is there in the back. I hope you had a chance to see some of their products when you came in. If not, please pass by on your way out. And also our media partners, ANC and BusinessWorld. We started this series just months into the pandemic to give executives and members the chance and the opportunity really to talk to each other and hear from each other about how to navigate the pandemic. 2+ years on, it is still as relevant as before because we still feel those effects of the pandemic, but also all the opportunities and new challenges that have cropped up from them. And then all these new developments globally and abroad that you're all facing. I won't go through the litany, I think you know them better than I do, but there's all of that going on. We hope that these kinds of gatherings help you compare notes and hopefully do better when you go back to your companies. We're going to have a very great installment today because our speaker is the head of a business that's so large and so dispersed, both here and abroad, that when the pandemic hit, it was probably one of the hardest hit, especially in the very beginning. But since then, they have definitely resumed and maybe even accelerated their growth, expansion here and abroad. I won't tell you more about them. I'll leave that to our discussion lead. So let me introduce our discussion lead for today. That's going to be Tina Tan. Tina is the president of Suising Commercial Corporation. If you don't know what that is, they are the leading, if not, they're one of the leading, if not the leading wholesalers, distributors of FMCG products in the country. That means that they distribute to about 15,000 retailers from about a dozen distribution centers from Isabela province all the way to Davao. So chances are some of the products you were buying comes through their pipeline. Tina joined Suising right after college. I'll leave it to her to tell you when that was. And she became she started out as a sales associate and became president about 10 years ago. She's active in various organizations. In MBC, she's part of our Women in the C-Suite Diversity Committee. I think she'll refer to that a bit later on as well. She's also active in an organization that some of you may know, which is YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, where she's held several leadership positions. She's also the Athena champion of YPO Philippines. Is it YPO Philippines or Asia? Athena champion. I asked her what Athena champion means. It's not as scary as it sounds. It is the initiative to increase women membership in YPO. That's also where she knows Ato very well from. Outside of work, Tina enjoys yoga, traveling, and golf, not necessarily in that order. And I'll leave it to Tina to introduce Ato to us this morning. This afternoon.
Thank you, Coco. I'm very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Jollibee Group CEO Ato Tanmantiong. Ato is a CEO I admire personally and professionally. He is an ideal man, devoted husband, father, and his newest role right now is Lolo to 3 cute apples. Despite his achievements, he has always been humble in the face of unprecedented challenges like what happened the past 2 years. He has remained calm and focused. I'm saying all of this not because Ato is a friend and a forum mate in YPO, but I'm sure all of you who have interacted with him will attest to the same. Ato Ato led the Jollibee Group since 2014, and he was crucial in cementing the group's position as one of the world's largest food service company, with 18 well-loved brands from the iconic Jollibee, Mang Inasal, and I don't have to name everything. I'm sure you all know all of this well-known Jollibee brands. And they have about 6,200 stores in 34 countries. Under Ato's leadership, Jollibee grew the fastest, opening the most number of stores in history and achieving consistent double-digit revenue growth. Jollibee has been given many accolades and many awards, but one award which I think is most special is being honored as among the world's best employer. This is by the Gallup Group. Jollibee, the Gallup Group acknowledged Jollibee's exceptional workplace. It's actually also the first Philippine-based company to receive this distinction. As many of you already have heard or must have heard, MBC has, as Coco mentioned, a Women in C-Suite initiative. And if Eileen Howe, who is our committee head this year, she'll be very proud to know that Jollibee has been honored as one of the world's top female-friendly company by Forbes. So working hard and dreaming big has always been Ato's mantra. This is not only something that he has consistently applied in his work, but even in his personal life. You may be surprised to learn that Ato wrote his wife Susan 88 letters throughout their 8 years of courtship until she agreed to become his wife. So if that is not a clear indication of working hard and dreaming big, I don't know what is. So today, we will hear about the beginnings of Jollibee Group and how the company has withstood the recent crisis and continued to grow. Without further ado, I'd like to call on Ato. Ato, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tina, for the kind and cheesy introduction. To the Makati Business Club and fellow business owners and leaders who are here with us today, a jolly afternoon. Thank you to all of you, members of the Makati Business Club, for inviting me to be your speaker here today. And special thanks goes to Coco Arcos. I feel honored that you chose to hear me share the Jollibee Group's global journey, and I'm privileged to represent our company here today. As we move forward in this post-pandemic world, I cannot help but look back at the challenges we all face amidst the global health crisis. The pandemic spared no one, and it hit those of us in the restaurant industry hard. Before I share how we dealt with the challenges of the pandemic, allow me to take you back to the past years to briefly share how the Jollibee Group story began. We started in 1975 when my brother Tony Tanmantiong, our founder and chairman, his wife Grace, and other family members opened 2 ice cream parlors. At first, we were only serving ice cream, but our customers started looking for warm meals, so the family started serving sandwiches and hamburgers. Soon, the hamburgers started to outsell the ice cream, and Jollibee was born. The name Jollibee was coined from the 2 words, Jolly and Bee. The bee was chosen because of how it symbolizes hard work and teamwork. In a colony, bees work together in harmony while producing sweet honey. Meanwhile, the addition of the word jolly is important because according to my brother Tony, if you are working hard but are not happy, then it's not worth it. And so, the Jollibee name was born. Even when we were just starting out, we already dreamed big. We dreamed of being #1 in the restaurant industry in the Philippines and expanding globally. Although many thought we were crazy, it was that crazy dream that has brought us to where we are today. Along the way, we were faced with many challenges, among them being the entry of McDonald's in the Philippines in 1981, when we only had 12 stores. We were warned that when McDonald's entered a country, it tended to wipe out local competitors. A lot of our friends told us to just close the business or sell it because we wouldn't be able to compete with such a giant. We thought hard about what direction we were going to take, and we did strategic planning sessions and found out that we were at a disadvantage on virtually every front, from restaurant look, kitchen equipment, systems, and processes, except on one thing, and that is the food taste. We knew our food tasted better to the Filipino panlasa, and that's when we knew we could win this fight and came out in high spirits. So instead of chickening out, we served Chicken Joy. And now Jollibee here in the Philippines is bigger than its next two competitors, McDonald's and KFC combined. The Philippines is the only country where a local brand was able to beat two global giants. I believe this is a source of pride for many Filipinos, as I know it is one for our company. This is a high point that we celebrate with our customers and one that will continue to inspire us to serve them even better. Thanks to the dream, and most especially to all our teams, we persevere. And from a single brand in 1978, we have become one of the largest and fastest growing restaurant companies in the world with 18 brands, including international brands such as the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, Tim Ho-Wan, Smash Burger, as well as Burger King, Panda Express, and Yoshinoya in the Philippines. While none of the past challenges were as difficult as the one the whole world is facing these days, they all remind me of this, that with focus, hard work, grit, and the dedication of our people, we can and will overcome. John F. Kennedy once said that the word crisis, when written in Chinese, is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. Amid this crisis, we saw huge opportunities. And indeed, we quickly pivoted to continue serving more people better to remain on track towards achieving our dreams. Before the pandemic, our business was largely focused on dining. And while we already had delivery, drive-thru, and takeout options, they comprised a significantly smaller portion of our business. Because of the pandemic, we pivoted towards off-premise channels where our digital access points played a key role. We have beefed up our digital team, and we're pursuing an accelerated digital roadmap, advancing our digital technologies, which will help us better understand and connect to our customers. In the Philippines, we have made substantial headway in the past years, where we increased our digital access points from just 3 touch points in 2019 to 16 channels today, including improved apps, delivery websites, and strong and strategic partnerships with aggregators like Grab Food and Foodpanda. In North America, our efforts in search engine optimization resulted in the organic revenue from our website nearly quadrupling for Jollibee in the region, and in total, our delivery sales continue to grow in strong triple digits versus pre-pandemic numbers and double digits versus last year. Even as our customers are returning to our stores and dining in. If before, the sales potential of our business was limited to the size of our dine-in spaces, now there is a greater opportunity to reach even more customers through off-premise channels. We also capitalized on this incremental growth opportunity by introducing new store models for the future. We piloted cloud kitchens in applicable markets, and these locations are dedicated solely for delivery fulfillment and are situated in lower rent areas. We also established delivery and take-out only stores that don't have dining areas and thus require smaller spaces and lower capital expenditures. We also tested a mobile kitchen with DoorDash, the leading food aggregator in the US. We did all this while encouraging a safe dining experience for our crew and customers as they return to our stores. We continued implementing all safety protocols and are even piloting new technology in selected Jollibee stores such as Jollibots, smart lockers, and self-order kiosks to serve our customers better para safe at alaga ka sa Jollibee. With the solid recovery achieved in 2021, we are geared for further growth in 2022 and the years ahead. To achieve our vision, we are determined to not just lead locally, but also grow globally. In the Philippines, we opened 85 new stores despite the challenging landscape in 2021. We likewise opened 50 new stores as of Q2 2022. We also cemented the market leadership of our brands in their respective categories. Jollibee as the #1 quick service restaurant, Chowking as the #1 Chinese-style QSR, Greenwich as the #1 pizza and pasta, and Red Ribbon as the market leader in cakes, and Mang Inasal as a market leader in the Filipino quick service restaurant category. We did this by driving our bestsellers further, such as improvements made to Chowking's, Chow Fan, and Asado Siopaw, and by introducing new products that became hits, such as the chicken sandwich for Jollibee, extreme overloaded pizzas for Greenwich, and a new assortment of cakes and pastries for Red Ribbon, and Mang Inasal Chorizo Burger, among others. These new products create excitement and continue to encourage new customers to order from us. We also entered into partnerships with established international brands in the Philippines. These brands include Panda Express, Burger King, and recently Milksha and Yoshinoya. For Panda Express, we opened stores even during the pandemic, and it continues to have the highest average daily sales per store in JFC's store domestic network. We have also started to make Milksha, which is Taiwan's best-rated milk tea, available here in the Philippines through Chowking stores. We have acquired 51% of Milksha, and we're excited to expand the brand across different countries and participate in the fast-growing milk tea segment. We're also very excited for a joint venture partnership with Yoshinoya, with whom we plan to open 50 stores in the Philippines. Internationally, we opened 330 new stores in 2021 and 180 new stores in 2022 as of Q2. Since 2020, majority of our store openings have been happening outside the Philippines, and we intend to continue this through 2022 and beyond as we aim for a 50-50 split between domestic and international sales. We also continued growing our major international brands across the globe, specifically Smashburger, Michelin-starred Tim Ho Wan, and the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. For Smashburger, we solidified its 3 key pillars for success: strengthening its organization structure, rebranding across stores, menu and campaigns, and improving box economics for higher returns. For Tim Ho Wan, we opened the first ever store in mainland China in Shanghai amidst the pandemic in 2020, and have since brought it to even more cities such as Beijing and Hangzhou. Given the potential and the success of our new stores, we will be opening 100 Tim-Ho-Wan stores across China, which is one of our main pillar markets. And for Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, it is now well positioned in the lucrative coffee and tea beverage segment with clear differentiation. In the first quarter of 2020, the brand saw strong double-digit system-wide sales and same-store sales growth, and delivered positive operating income for the year 2021. As we continue to strengthen the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf's management team, we expect continued growth, more so as pandemic restrictions continue to ease. And I'm happy to share that all these three brands are better today versus pre-pandemic, a positive sign that there is plenty more room to grow. Our customers likewise saw many milestones for Jollibee. We opened our first store in Rome, Italy, and also in London's famous West End, our first in Wales and Scotland, in Spain, and more first in the US in Maryland State, San Antonio, Texas, downtown Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and most recently in the heart of the busiest city in the world, New York's Times Square. Here's a short news clip to give you a glimpse of what happened at the opening. There's no volume. It's okay. Yeah. Jollibee also recently appeared on the famed billboards of Times Square, one of the very first Filipino brands to get airtime at the billboard capital of the world. Here's a short clip of my favorite ad. We were truly honored by the warm reception we received from Times Square, both locals and tourists from around the world during the opening. We're also excited and further inspired by the recognitions Jollibee has received in the US, including being named America's hottest brands in 2022, and our very own Chicken Joy being named the best fried chicken in America by Eater.com, besting all other fried chickens through several rounds. We continued opening Jollibee stores around the globe despite the pandemic because we see a huge opportunity for our most beloved brand. It really appeals to a global and diverse audience. In the UK, up to 80% of the patrons in our newest stores are local mainstream customers who are non-Filipino. In the Middle East, we also see other diverse groups increasingly going to Jollibee. In Hong Kong, the local Chinese market makes up majority of our customers. The same is true with Singapore and Brunei. In Vietnam, nearly 100% of our patrons are local customers. Other opportunities have also opened, even in countries where we are less known, with landlords now offering us very prime sites at lower rates because other restaurants that opened there couldn't continue their operations. With all this, we are proud to say that the Jollibee Group has shown strong business results despite immense challenges and obstacles in the last 2 years. And through the hard work of everyone, our operating income in 2021 reached 6.3 billion pesos, almost equaling to the 6.5 billion pesos we made in 2019. This was our defining achievement for 2021, to have generated an operating income on a par with pre-pandemic levels. We were able to achieve this through some cost restructuring that we implemented in 2020, as well as continuing strong cost and profit management the year after. I'm also happy to share that in Q2 of this year, 2022, we achieved our best ever quarter in the history of JFC. Not only did we reach parity, but we actually surpassed our pre-pandemic level and delivered our highest ever quarterly system-wide sales and operating income. With all that said, I must highlight that the sustained growth of the business would not have been possible without the help and commitment of our hardworking people, franchisees, and business partners. We are grateful that our employees' morale remained high and that we continue to attract high-caliber talent. We would not have made it this far if not for their dedication and unwavering service, not only to the company, but also to our customers. From store teams, the commissary, and distribution center personnel, and our support functions in our corporate office. They all stood with us, and we continue to stand by them. In 2020, we were named one of the Gallup's Exceptional Workplaces, the first time it was ever awarded to a Philippine company. Forbes also awarded the Jollibee Group as one of the world's best employers for the second year in a row. Forbes also recognized JFC as one of the world's top female-friendly companies, the only Philippine-based company to be part of the year's list. And also in the same year, HRD Asia awarded the company with Asia's Best Employer Brand Award, while Universum Global cited us as one of the most attractive employers in the Philippines. We dedicate all these recognitions to our hardworking people, and passionate people. Because it is they who inspire us every day, when they share in our dream and we pave the way together. Even if we are still not completely out of the woods and there remain challenges ahead, I couldn't think of a better team to be with us on this journey. While we continue to rebuild our business and invest for the long term, we also remain true to our commitment to the community through the Jollibee Group Foundation, as we also want the communities that we operate in to thrive and progress together with us. JGF's Farmer Entrepreneurship Program has helped improve the capacity of the smallholder farmers for greater productivity, sustainable operations, and market competitiveness. In 2021, FEP Farmer Groups sold 486,000 kilos of vegetables to the Jollibee Group. Since 2009, they have delivered close to 9 million kilos of vegetables to the company, equivalent to more than $7 million worth of sales. We are grateful for the honor of being recently recognized by the Asia Pacific Tangguli Awards 2022 for promoting inclusive growth with our Farmer Entrepreneurship Program. The program has also launched our first online course on agro-entrepreneurship in cooperation with Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, to empower more farmers to be able to sell directly to institutional markets. Meanwhile, our Busog Talino school feeding program continued to support the Department of Education's feeding program through the BLT school kitchens. These kitchens prepared meals following the JFC developed guidelines on nutrition, food safety, and quality standards for hundreds of pupils per day. JGF's Food Aid program has also supported more than 64,000 people with food assistance. The foundation has distributed more than 8.1 million meals to assist those affected by the pandemic and has continued to provide meals to those affected by various natural calamities. On top of our foundation's initiatives, we have been constantly working on how to actively become more sustainable as a company. We have appointed a Chief Sustainability Officer as part of our executive committee and have a dedicated unit overseeing these efforts. The team also collaborated with the IATF and different government units to lend our supply chain expertise to map out how the vaccination rollout could be done so that the resources such as doctors, nurses, vaccine inventory, and venues could well be managed to deliver wide coverage in the timeliest manner. And we are happy that in our own way, we were able to help our country have a better Christmas in 2021. These milestones would likewise not have been possible if not for the support and love of our customers all over the world for Jollibee and our family of brands throughout the years. We continue to go beyond borders because of them, and they have brought us to where we are today. Though we have come a long way from our small beginnings in 1975, there's still so much ahead of us. For Jollibee alone, we have barely scratched the surface. When we see that KFC has over 25,000 stores in over 145 countries, we know that there's still a lot of potential for our 1,500 stores in 17 countries to expand. Similarly, there's also so much room to grow for Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, which has over 1,000 stores in 24 countries, compared to the 33,000 stores Starbucks has worldwide. There's also a huge potential for Tim Ho Wan, especially as there's no major Chinese global QSR player. So our story is not yet done. And through our two-pronged growth strategy of strong organic growth and strategic acquisitions, we will reach our vision of becoming one of the top 5 restaurant companies in the world by serving great tasting food and bringing the joy of eating to everyone. This journey may be long and challenging, but I believe that together with our hardworking teams and by dreaming big, not just for ourselves, but for our people, our customers, our community, our country, the best will always be yet to come. So thank you, Makati Business Club, for allowing us to share the Jollibee Group story. Maraming salamat, and again, enjoy the program.
Thanks very much, Ato. Please have a seat here, and I'll ask Tina to join us as well for our discussion. I just want to check that that the people in MS Teams are still there. So I'll ask the people in MS Teams to do a little survey while Ato, Tina, and I get ready here. Janine?
Yes, Coco. We actually asked our online guests, hope you can hear me, what's your favorite Jollibee menu item? We're still waiting for responses, Coco, but once we have it, I'll get back to you.
So all of those who are in MS Teams, we want to make sure you're still there. Please type in the chat box and spicy chicken joy is the first answer. Please type in the chat box and Geneva will give us a report on that soon. Ato, is the answer to this question anything ever other than chicken joy? Or is it always chicken joy? Is there any audience where it's not chicken joy?
We also hear spaghetti, especially from the kids.
So if the audience is a kid's audience, it's spaghetti first.
Spaghetti.
Janine, in your audience, what is it?
And the chicken.
Your audience.
My favorite is peach mango pie. Highly recommended.
So for kids, it's spaghetti, but otherwise it's always chicken joy, I guess. Tina, what's your favorite?
I like palabok. Of course, aside from chicken joy, I like palabok.
I do the palabok and the lumpiang Shanghai. Like we said, Tina and don't know each other quite well, so I'll turn over to Tina and ask Tina where you want to start.
Ato, first I want to hats off how you have the group has been able to overturn the losses during the pandemic so quickly, right? And you discuss a lot of initiatives that you have done to turn this around. Could you enumerate the top three? The top three initiatives that you have done to turn around the losses and become profitable right away Q4 of 2020?
It was quite hard during that time and very unprecedented. They said it's the blackest swan of the black swan. So first is we think that we try to remain steadfast into our mission of serving great tasting food to our customers. And I remember my dad used to tell us that when you are in the food business, when you are a tailor, you have to make sure that the soup fits your client well. And when you're in the restaurant, you make sure the food is really good to satisfy the tummy of your customers. So even during crisis, we made sure that we remain to our mission of serving great tasting food. While we try to do cost management, but we made sure that we don't sacrifice the food quality. I mentioned earlier that we did a major restructuring. We call it the Business Transformation Program in 2020, where we did a lot of cost improvements, not only in the stores, but also in commissaries. We had to close some of our commissaries to make sure that there's efficiency, and as well as in the head office. And we try to also, because of the lockdown, and I mentioned that most of our business are dining, we're in dining, we have to pivot quickly to delivery. It was not a quick turnaround, but luckily we were able to do it. And the other major reason also was the easing up of restriction. With the opening of the economy, we started to see customers going back to our stores.
So, so do you think that now that the economy, the country has opened up, so the old habits of dining in brick and mortar stores will come back, or the new habits of ordering online will still stick? Do you see a shift in the contribution of in-store dining and delivery?
Yeah, the beauty about this pandemic is it opens up a new opportunity for us, which is the delivery business. Before it was almost zero or less than 5%, but because of the pandemic, we're now registering 30%.
I think people enjoy the chicken joy more when they're in the Jollibee restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Not so much at home.
Yeah. But during lockdowns, they have no choice but to go to delivery. But what we notice is even when the economy is opening up, when people can go back to dining, our delivery sales remain there. So we see both dine-in growing, but at the same time, delivery channels are also increasing. And therefore, we think that the need for brick and mortar stores will still be there, especially in the Philippines, because people love to go out, enjoy meals together, either with friends or family. But we also see the opportunity of increasing our delivery channels. This is especially true to the Philippines, but for US, drive-thru remains the biggest channel in our sales. So drive-thru in US comprise about 50% of our sales. Yeah.
Is it typical for US?
It's typical for US.
Sector.
Yeah, that's why in US we have a smaller footprint, and we try to, as much as possible, do drive-thru operations.
No, everybody's talking about inflation, how food prices, fuel prices have really gone up and affected prices of everything, right? So how has the Jollibee Group how are you managing this? Have you increased your prices? And how has this affected, in a way, consumption?
Yeah, actually in our 40-year history, we have gone through several inflationary period. And although this is again the highest inflation that we have experienced. And what we do is always we try to aim not to pass on 100% of the cost increases to our customers. So we do this through cost efficiency programs, trying to review the entire supply chain from suppliers to our commissaries to our stores. And we also try to be more efficient, not only in the stores, but also in our commissaries and our head office, so that we don't have to pass on everything to our customers. But we did price increases in the last few months.
Can I use?
Sure. Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say that I still see they're able to maintain the prices. The value meals, 39 pesos, 69 pesos.
I'm old enough to, you won't remember it, I'm old enough to know I was a reporter since the 1990s and used to cover Jollibee. Just still Mike Navarrete, your CFO at the time. And for those of you in the audience, there's a time when I was a reporter and one of the analysts in the room was Anton Periquet, which is probably not going to happen these days. And I was there when, during one of these inflationary periods, you shifted from normal plates to the plastic basket with paper, so that I guess you save money there. So I guess you're still, after 30 years, you're still able to find more efficiencies.
Yes, there will always be opportunities for cost improvement, and we have done that either in commissary side or even in the stores.
To follow up on that question of looking for efficiencies. Now, when you, part of your sustainability or agri-entrepreneurship program, you support farmers to grow, does that have an impact on your sourcing? Like, because you now source directly from the farmers, apart from doing good, it's also good for business?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it achieves both ways. It's a win-win program for both the farmers and institutions like us. So we're able to get additional supply from our farmers, cooperative, as well as help them with their families. And what we notice is through the Farmers Entrepreneurship Program, we noticed that their income actually tripled compared to before when they had to sell their produced goods through middlemen.
That means more consumers also cocoa for Jollibee.
Exactly.
Now, Jollibee started in 1975 with only one store, an ice cream parlor. And then you already began your bid to expand globally in 1986, just 11 short years since the company was founded. What prompted this bold move early on? And how did you prepare for it?
Actually we ventured into our international operations actually way back in 1984 in Singapore. So that was our first store outside of the Philippines.
Less than 11 years.
It's less than
9 years.
Because my brother, Tony, he loves to dream big. And when we were just starting out with the 2 ice cream parlors in 1975, we were already thinking of how to become #1 ice cream parlors at that time. Because at that time, ice cream parlors were sprouting all over Metro Manila. And we said, we need to be the #1 ice cream parlor. And when we shifted to hamburger industry, we said we have to be the #1 in the Philippines. And at that time we decided not to franchise. We saw at that time franchising of US brands started to appear in the Philippines, and we said if we franchise a US brand, we'll be limited to Philippine territory. But if we create our own brand, and then we can go out of the Philippines. So going out of the Philippines has always been our dream. And therefore, after 11 years or less than 11 years, we decided to enter Singapore. But at that time, it was also our biggest failure in our international expansion. We closed the store in less than a year. because we did all the wrong things that should have been done in going abroad. So at that time, while we were dreaming crazy, but at the same time we were not prepared. And so there's a saying that you cannot run if you don't learn how to walk. And I think that's what happened to us. We started to run when we don't even know how to expand in Singapore. And then after that we entered Brunei, Indonesia.
You bought something in California, 2 restaurants.
Yeah, of Japanese restaurants. Yeah, that was also there.
Another mistake.
Yeah, and we entered Indonesia, Brunei, and Taiwan in 1987. So among the 3, luckily we were able to survive in Brunei, and now it's the second country that we are number 1, bigger than McDonald's and KFC.
Yeah, sure.
What is the main difference between the first not so successful forays abroad and then the later ones? I ask that because as Risa, Lito, and Doc Aris know, in our board we keep on talking about how Filipino companies should be more outward looking. It's fantastic to hear in your company as early as the 70s, 80s, you were thinking about that. There's relatively few companies that have thought that. In the last 10 years, more and more, but you and maybe 2 or 3 other companies really set the pace for that. What changed?
Yeah, we look at our international expansion into 3 stages. The first stage was in 1984 to about 2004, the first 20 years, where we experienced all the failures. We went to the countries that I mentioned. We also went to Middle East. At that time, we thought that if we could just hire an international executive who used to work with a global pizza company to help us expand international, it would have been done. Unfortunately, it didn't turn that way. So we failed the first 20 years, but we thought that was an expensive lesson because we learned a lot from it. The second stage was in 2004 up to today, where we started seriously, deliberately plan on how to really expand international successfully. So we formed the team. We a Jollibee veteran rather than hiring somebody from outside to head our international team. And we started improving our franchising support structure. So we had a better franchise partner selection, where in the first 20 years, we selected the wrong partners. And we have a better franchise support structure. We have a stronger brand equity, because at that time, Philippines started to get more popular. And then the other one would be that was not present in the past, would be a stronger OFW market. We thought that Filipinos continue to go abroad, and so we were able to tap the OFW markets and at that OFW communities as our brand ambassadors. I remember when I was visiting Jollibee Hong Kong, the one in Central, which is always full on a Sunday, with almost all Filipinos there. And I was there looking at them. I was quite amused and trying to understand what they are eating, what our kababayans are doing in Jollibee stores. So I was just standing there being very amused of looking at them. And I overheard 2 customers, Filipino ladies. They were just chatting. They finished already their meal, but they were just chatting. And they saw me standing, Chinese looking, and then I heard them talking in Filipino. I said, "Oh, tumayo na tayo para makaupo yung customers." So I was quite touched with our overseas OFW, that they really look at Jollibee as their own. And as I walked out of the store, I saw a Filipino, helper with a Hong Kong Chinese kid. And she was telling the kid who the Jollibee standee was outside the store. So she was, brainwashing him how good is Jollibee. And then when we opened our store our first store in New York, Queens, I remember it was opened on February 14th. So winter time, there was a blizzard, and people were queuing 3 blocks away from the store already. Very long line, despite the blizzard. And there was a New Yorker, white American, walking and saw the line. So he went to the line and asked the Filipino person, saying, "What are you doing? Who is this? Who is Jollibee?" So again, the Phil-Am was so proud, talking about who Jollibee is. So finally, he convinced the New Yorker to try Jollibee. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to try. Where's the line for the paying customers?"
Oh my God.
The guy said, "You have to go 3 blocks away, and the line starts there."
Do you, when you started the story, you're talking about hovering over those customers in the restaurant. Do you often spy on them when you visit your restaurants?
Yeah, I usually I want to enter our stores incognito as a customer, because I want to feel how our customers the moment of truth experience. And unfortunately, some of our managers recognize me, but I also want to do that. And I also do competitive check. I do store visits of competitors, try to learn on how they're doing.
Speaking of spying and competitive checks, am I correct in remembering that either Tony or some of you got jobs in McDonald's to check out how their system works? Is that correct? Did I get
No, what they did was, in the early years, when they learned that McDonald's was coming to the Philippines, they flew to the States to observe how McDonald's operate. And at that time, our service system was still waiter service. And it was not yet a self-service. And so they said that for us to compete with McDonald's when they come in, we have to shift our waiter service to self-service, so that it is something new, it's cool, it's the new trend, waiter services and all the traditional type of restaurants. But we didn't have the experience to do it. And what we did was, from full waiter service, we shifted first to semi-self-service. So you order and pay at the counter, and food will be served. Because we didn't have the technology to shift all the way to self-service. But luckily, after a year or two, we went into full self-service when McDonald's entered the counter. Yeah, so it's true that they have been trying to observe and learn from the leaders. And when they first came in, because of their global brand image, their stores did very well. There was enjoyed long lines. I think their volume was 4 times bigger than us. And at that time, we didn't have the brand power yet to be able to attract that huge crowd. So what we did was to open small stores around their big store, so to surround them. And at that time, we didn't have the highest sales per store, but we had the highest per square meter, because we opened smaller stores around them and provide the convenience to the customers. And we enjoyed the high utilization of the store. And at that time, we didn't have money to do market research, and we wanted to know how well they did. So at the end of the day, my brother would go to their garbage cans and count the number of bags, and use our own bags to extrapolate the sales.
Intelligence.
We're getting a lot here that you don't read in business books, right?
Counting trash bags.
Okay. No, so you mentioned, I like what you said about dreaming big early on and then creating a brand so you could expand to the world rather than bringing your own brand here. So I'd like to ask, what advice would you give Philippine companies that would want to scale up also globally, or at least in Southeast Asia or in Asia, that want to expand beyond the Philippine market?
I think it has to start with a vision or with a dream. And then with that vision, you need to really invest with full focus and commitment. Because without that dream or vision, then it's difficult to reach there. And once you have that dream and you are ready to commit to do it, because it's not easy, lots of hard work. It took us now almost close to 40 years, and we have barely scratched the surface. Probably others could have done it better, but it took us 40 years. And so, a lot of hard work. So it starts with a vision, commitment, then build the right team. Because you cannot do it alone. You need the experts. And make sure that the team share the same values, mission, and vision as yours or as with your company. You don't, even if you hire a very good person, if he does not share the values with your company, then it won't work, which we experienced in the early years.
That's a fantastic place to end, I think, this part before we turn to the audience. But I'll insert one question. When your brother started talking about expanding abroad, how many days or weeks or months were you laughing behind his back, not believing this vision? And at what point did you realize we're on our way?
Actually, before, because it was a one stage at a time. As I mentioned, when we were still in the ice cream business, we said we want to be number one in the ice cream parlor industry. When we are in the hamburger industry, we said we want to be number one. When we achieved that, at the time we said we want to be number one in Asia. And when we were about to achieve that, we said we want to be the top 10 in the world. When we were close to the top 10, we said we wanted to be the top 5. Now the top 10 and top 5 is quite a big gap. So it's a North Star, and we couldn't even tell when we can achieve it. So I would say we're still work in progress towards that dream. And in 2019, before COVID, we were already reaching top 10. By the way, we measure top 10 based on market cap. And we were already in the top 10 before COVID. Unfortunately, we were hit by COVID. When COVID struck, we were back to number 18. And now we're getting closer back to 10. So it's still a work in progress, still a very long, hard journey.
Thanks very much. We're gonna turn to questions. Tina, thanks very much for those questions. From both the audience here and on MS Teams. If you're here in the room and if you have a question, you can either go to that mic over there or raise your hand and Jeannie will bring the mic to you. I see Marivic in the back and Risa in the front. Maybe Marivic first. Marivic, in case anyone here doesn't know you, please introduce yourself.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Marivic Españo, CEO and Chairperson of Punong Bayan and Aurelio. I just want to say that it's really inspiring to hear the Jollibee story. My kids invest in the stocks not because of the share price, but because they feel proud that it's a global company representing the Filipinos. So my question would then be, how do you protect the Jollibee brand? I mean, you mentioned earlier that one of your, levers for success is following where the OFWs are. And usually when you go to Jollibee, because you want to relive the experience of how Jollibee tastes, right? But I understand you also mentioned that your objective is also to capture that foreign market. And the taste in that foreign market might be different from what we Filipinos love. So how do you process that? How do you balance the desire to capture that other market but keep the Jollibee taste?
Yeah, fortunately, our bestseller, Chicken Joy, tends to be universally accepted by all different markets. So for instance, I mentioned that it was just voted as the best fried chicken in America. A few years back, we were voted as the best fried chicken in Singapore. And also in the best chicken, in Singapore it was done by the Yahoo Singapore, voted as the best fried chicken. Then in Hong Kong a few years back, South China Morning Post also conducted a survey and voted Jollibee as the the best fried chicken in Hong Kong. So luckily, Chicken Joy is universally accepted and even preferred versus KFC. And then we also noticed that our other products like peach mango pie, we started to sell them recently in Europe and US few years back. And we noticed that the mainstream markets also love it, and they say that it's even better than McDonald's apple pie. While for spaghetti, we notice it's polarizing. In certain markets, they like it. Like we were surprised that in Vietnam. So Vietnam is almost 100% non-Filipino market. In Vietnam, our second highest selling product is spaghetti. So surprisingly, some Asian countries love our spaghetti. In US, it's a mix. We heard the young ones, they said it's a familiar spaghetti that they eat in their high school days, grade school days, in their cafeteria. But for adults, it's yuck.
Polarizing.
Polarizing. And what we do is some of the best sellers are going to be the mainstay in any market that we enter. And then we introduce other markets that are more catering to mainstream. So for instance, the recently launched chicken sandwich, we notice is a mainstream, we believe it's a mainstream market that also satisfies both Filipino and mainstream markets. And for instance, in Times Square, being in a tourist area, so we also serve other sides items like salad, mac and cheese. So we try. What we do is 70% main products of Jollibee globally. Then we allow local markets to play with the other 30% with the local menu offerings. So for instance, in Vietnam, we offered sweet chili chicken. So it's like a sweet chili sauce mixed with the fried chicken. And we use the Vietnamese patis in the recipe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Risa?
I was wondering, because I've heard actually your head of international before talk about expanding, and it was really inspiring, no? And he said, for Filipinos, it's a taste of home. But I was wondering, because it's a consumer product, how you did your brand building and marketing in your overseas markets. Because as you know, that's really one of the most difficult things to do when you're entering a market. So for Vietnam, where you have almost 100% Vietnamese, how did you do that marketing and brand building?
Yeah, I failed to mention earlier that what is not present this time versus before is the emergence of social media. So it allows us to be able to build, to do brand building at a lower cost through social media. If we were to do traditional advertising, we couldn't afford with few stores in the new markets that we enter. So that one is helped us a lot. So we do Facebook, TikTok, and all the more efficient but cheaper advertising media. And of course we stick to our mission. We make sure that quality and taste comes first before anything else. So we invest on that, and then do the training to our stores. Make sure that the gold standard consistency is present at all times. Although even by doing those efforts, once in a while we receive comments, oh, how come your chicken is like this? So it's a work in progress. It's a constantly daily training and monitoring of our stores. And that's why morale is very important in the stores, because when your employees are motivated, then they can automatically do satisfy our customers.
Any more questions from the floor? Oh, it's Chris.
Hello, thank you for sharing today, and thank you, Coco and Tina. My question is
Grace,
about...
in case some people
sorry.
don't know you.
Hi, I'm Grace. I lead Grab in the Philippines. Hello. One question I have is on the macroeconomic environment. Given existing wars and threats of wars, our exchange rate, and many other things happening in the global economy, how would you view that, and how is a company like yours preparing for it?
Yeah, in terms of cost, our imported products comprise about 25% of the total food cost. So in a way, it balances our cost inflation risk. In terms of consumer, what we notice is because of the devaluation, the OFW remittances also increased, and it helped our consumers. And because we also noticed that fast food in general is very resilient, because during crisis, when purchasing power goes down, consumers shifted from casual dining and fine dining to fast food. So all this help in a way our industry, and so we just need to make sure again that the food quality and taste remain the same, so that consumer will go to you. And what we notice is during crisis, when purchasing power is tight, consumer go for the bigger brand, for the more popular brand. So that's how we try to survive this crisis. And thank you, Grace, for helping us during the last 2 years through delivery. Otherwise, we would have survived this crisis.
Do you need your questions from MS Teams?
Yes, there are questions from MS Team. So just a reminder to our online guests, we actually do read your questions and comments. Please feel free to type them in the chat box. So we have 2 for now. I'll start first with Elmer La Peña of Testec. And his question goes back to the sustainability aspect that you talked about earlier, but focus on global warming and climate change. So the world loves the delicious warm meals from Jollibee. ... Could you also share your thoughts on global warming and the company's role to fight climate change?
Yeah, what we do was first is we appointed the Chief Sustainability Officer to champion this initiative. So we have started to work with our suppliers. Luckily, we have global suppliers that work with us who have more advanced technology abroad, and we are asking them to help us in this initiative. So there are different areas that we look at. For instance, when you mentioned about using wares, we were quite early in that stage where we decided to stop the use of disposable items in the dining area where we can, and that in a way help us reduce 50% of our garbage. So different areas, different approach. And some countries where we operate in, where the sustainability initiatives are more advanced. So in those markets, we are more proactive than, let's say, in developing countries like Philippines.
When you mentioned partner suppliers, I just remember the reason why we lost the colleague I mentioned a while ago, Alex Amigilan. We lost your JV with Cargill. So thank you very much. More questions?
I think one final question for now from Kashmir Derampatek of Coca-Cola. So given all the challenges and issues that you just discussed earlier, what are you still excited about for Jollibee Foods Corporation?
Well, we are excited that of our journey to make Jollibee Foods Corporation a truly global company. Today, our revenue, our international foreign businesses revenue comprise of about 45%. Our medium goal is to achieve 50%. But in the long term, we would like to, because we identified our growth areas into 3 pillar markets, and that's Philippines, US, and China. We would like to see these 3 pillar markets to equally contribute to the revenues and profit of the company. So it's still a long way to go. So we want to move from Philippine-centric company to a global company.
Tina, do you have one final question? I have one myself.
One more.
Sorry.
Oh, one more.
Sorry. Yes.
Hi, Ato. Thank you for sharing. Just wanted to follow up your last comment about your business now is 45% international. So I guess my question is related to the talent that you have here in the Philippines. Do they have the opportunity to become become executives in your global operations, for example, and therefore have some global careers with a company like Jollibee with 45% global revenue?
Yeah, we do recruit outside help, but as well as internal development. So most of our Jollibee international team is composed of Filipinos from the Philippines. For our Philippine brands in US, mostly are from here. Although as we now move to crossover to mainstream market, we started to see the need for hiring locals. When I say locals, it's the mainstream Americans to help us cross over to the market. So for instance, we started to hire American employees for our marketing group to start helping us cross over. But the head is still a Filipino expat from here. Yeah. So we do mix of team, forming the team.
Thanks. Was there one more question? If yes, one last one there.
Hi, good afternoon. I am Justine Tavilla from BusinessWorld. So for my questions, just forward-looking, what are your next plan in relation to acquisitions or joint ventures for JFC?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that we have two-pronged strategy, and that is to aggressive organic growth of our existing businesses and strategic acquisition. For now, we don't have any specific deal yet, although we are always open to explore acquisitions, especially within the three main pillar markets. And what we do, our criteria is first is to make sure that the company has great superior testing products. So that's number one. And number two is that the business model is scalable. So our tendency is to focus on quick service category or at most fast casual, so that we can scale it to hundreds and thousands of stores.
I'm going to give the last question to Tina, but as Tina prepares to do that, we'd really appreciate your feedback. If you're here in the room, there's a QR code at your table. Please aim your phone at that, and the feedback form is there. If you're in your office or at home, we're flashing a QR code or a link that you can click on. We'd really appreciate the feedback you could give us there. Tina, last question to you.
Can I? Two.
Okay. Well, Ato needs to leave 4 minutes ago,
Okay.
so kayo na bahala dyan.
No, first a follow-up question to your question. So once you start hiring international managers to run your foreign operations, how do you make sure that they still imbibe the Jollibee values or culture that made you successful?
Yeah, we make sure that, because as far as technical capabilities or qualifications are concerned, that's easy. You can look at their CV and all this. But what we try to make sure is that their personal values are aligned with ours. And we do this through interview, background check, and we also use Harrison assessment, interview assessment, to at least understand the personality of the person and character. So we do all this to make sure that they are aligned with our vision, mission, and values. Of course, although it's not 100% foolproof, but at least we are there around 80%.
Last, okay. Let's get a bit, the personal side of Ato. For somebody who handles such a big responsibilities globally, how do you keep yourself fit and sharp?
Well, I try to watch my weight. So I actually weigh every morning to make sure that I don't gain too much weight. So I have a target weight for my height. And I do yoga. My wife finally convinced me to do yoga, especially during COVID time. And of course, trying to always be optimistic about anything that comes to you. And be happy.
That's where we're ending.
Thank you.
Tina, Ato, thank you very much for this session. Everybody who joined us here, thank you so much for coming. Everybody on MS Teams also thanks to my colleagues and other members. Thank you as well. We're going to end with some photos. We'll start first with those who are on MS Teams. If you're willing or comfortable turning on your cameras, please do, and we'll take a couple of screenshots of those who are joining us via MS Teams. When I count to 3, I'll ask all of you to smile. All of those who are willing to turn on their cameras. A few more. 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 Okay, I'm going to count to 3, maybe 3 times, and please all smile at the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, and 3. Thanks very much. They're going to take a photo of us sitting down. Just sitting down here. And for our last photo, Ato, Tina, and I will come forward, and could you all come to us and we'll take a photo. The camera will be here in front of us. So here. Thank you so much. Everybody please come here in front. We'll all just surround Ato. Facing, sorry, we'll be facing. Ato will face this way. Everybody. Please huddle in there. Thank you very much. Please have a good day, everybody.